Dominic, who is going to share his, experiences of both personal experiences, both, professional experiences. I'm just going to let Dominic take over because he's absolutely amazing, and it's definitely a treat to listen to Dominic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting me be here. So I've really grappled with the idea of anti-poverty. But yeah, I should introduce myself first. Am I on the screen, just so I know? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, and this may not be like a polished presentation as life and placement and everything in the fifth most deprived place in the UK, I would add, but rather, yeah, I just hope to like offer some reflections that I hope are of value. So yeah, my name's Dominic. I'm a single dad. I live in a council estate, a council block in East Kent, and yeah, it's where I've raised my daughter. And I started studying social work September last year. And I've had passion for issues of like human rights also, and social injustice, and food insecurity is something I've really kind of focused on. But before I started studying social work, and it wasn't directly social work, but I didn't even know what food insecurity was, even though I lived it. And I only realized on placement and through research I did, the hardships that certain children in care were experiencing, and that brought me to an understanding of that as a concept. But I guess what is poverty is something that I've kind of asked myself and questioned, and I'd say I've experienced poverty as like not enjoying any of the safety nets that perhaps other people in stronger positions do. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming at it from. And so, yeah, so I really grappled with this idea of anti-poverty, because when poverty is something that you live, is something you've raised a child in, is something that kind of even becomes part of your way of doing things, part of your culture, and the way you kind of navigate life. The idea of having someone who's a social worker or anyone like as anti how you do things or get by, I found that a bit problematic. But I read the Baswa anti-poverty professional guidance, and I saw that there was a space for the positives that could arise out of poverty to be acknowledged. And I guess that's something that I feel passionate about, even though I'm living and I'm fully aware of the structural inequalities and and the hardships faced, especially by single parents, as is noted by, I think it's the Child Poverty Action Group and the Church of England's report this month, how single parents are kind of disproportionately hit by this crisis due to the lack of kind of a support network and facing hardships on their own. So a kind of personal example is, well, there's two things that I'll just quickly say is, one, the council estate where I live is not like a gentrified council block in a kind of desired location in London. It's a council block in East Kent, and the shop in the estate, the only food it stocks is the lowest quality of food possible. And that's also reflected by the reading material that's supplied. Is you can only get the Sun or the Racing Post when I went in there the other day, which isn't often, but as there's nothing of value really there. But I think that kind of reflects the environment that certain people live in, and I hope that will be something that people relate to that live in certain areas, or maybe not. And the other thing is, since I've started studying social work, I had to move from job seekers allowance to universal credit due to the restrictions on studying, and that has kind of made me seek notices, like seeking possession of my property due to well, that's just what it's resulted in. And so then that's like a real, and when you've been through a whole court case regarding the residency of your child, then having threats of court action that would end up in, well, would result in you being homeless, it can kind of put you in a space of despair, and also it can affect you just in the wide world, but also in your ability to progress in studying. So so I've got a couple more points. Is that so I'm speaking in a time where the world, like, it's been impacted by COVID, and at the beginning I was even misinformed, where I kind of thought COVID could be the great equalizer of kind of society in a way, but it's kind of actually been a virus that's put a spotlight on the inequalities in our society. And even though there's been a real drive to ensure that the physical element of social distancing is understood by the government, there's been a lot less said about the social distance that exists in our society between different groups due to race or class, poverty, or other factors. And I guess that kind of reflects, I should speak more about the work I've done with food insecurity, but it speaks kind of that sort of social distance, the way, that's how I've kind of grasped it, speaks to what Marcus Rashford is doing. But so I'd say that perhaps as a profession, that there's, as much as I've heard it said that, there needs to be attention given to the social in social work, I think in these times there also needs to be attention given to the social in social distancing, because I think that warrants some critical focus. And I was even considering of trying to start like a radical platform that I might, hopefully I will do, social distance in social work, like as a reflective journal and a platform that if other people wanted to get involved with, I would. And and just on that note, I saw just before I came on, so I'm dyslexic and I was scribbling things down so I didn't forget everything, but I saw a letter by what they called the Chief Social Workers of England, and it was kind of talking about kind of what Omar and Siobhan and everyone's doing, the kind of inclusion of different voices in the profession. And I just thought, I think that's a beautiful thing, a very important thing. And also even the fact that I'm here and speaking and given this time, I think it is kind of a testament to diversity understood as kind of multi-dimensional, as the social work profession does. So I hope people understood kind of what I was saying, and I didn't stumble over my words too much.
No, you did great, Dominic. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. And, as a fellow student, you genuinely continue to inspire me to, continue using my voice and continue speaking up. So thank you so much. We're now going to hand over to...
Thank you for that. I know the chat box tonight has been more active than any of the webinars that I think we've done. I think people have really valued hearing the diversity of voices tonight, but with the kind of clarity of message around the importance of being aware and conscious of poverty and addressing poverty. I'm also a little bit thinking around the whole idea, as Dominic said, about anti-poverty. What do we think about that language? And I've been trying to play around with, should it be poverty active practice or something? We need to be more than aware. We need to do something.